It's a lot of flooding, a lot of blown trees and stuff. It's kind of mind-blowing.
I've been watching you on Twitter a little bit, Tyler. You say this is certainly the worst storm you've ever lived through.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely probably the worst one. When I was growing up, because my family personally, when we first moved to North Carolina in '96, within our first 2 years, we had dealt with Hurricanes Floyd and Fran up in North Carolina at the time, and those were two of the worst storms up there. The only other time that I've truly dealt with something would be Irma as far as Florida goes for this area, and we got lucky with Irma. But with this one, no, I was not expecting anything like this.
Yeah, some of the vision that we're watching as we're talking to you is just remarkable. I mean, the water is 12 foot high in some instances, and the winds just looked absolutely huge. Is it the advice at the moment to still stay indoors?
For a lot of us, what we're doing is we're, of course, assessing, seeing what things are. Some areas you just can't access at all, like out by the beaches. It's probably not ideal to be going out there. Probably going to have to take boats to get onto those streets. But at least in our area, still, you can still somewhat drive. It's just if you have an SUV, it's probably more ideal to be using that over a compact car.
Yeah. And where do you normally live? Are you normally close to the water?
We live on the other side of town, so essentially our low-lying areas between our A and B zones ended up being told to evacuate, so we moved over. The family's house is over towards the D level of evacuation zones, so we're on a bit higher ground. We have yet to make it back to our own house, but typically we're about 10 miles or so away from the beach is where our house typically is located.
Yeah. Give us an idea, Tyler, of how you prepare when you know a storm like this is headed your way.
So essentially in the process of preparing for a storm is just getting all of the supplies that you need, making sure you have all like important family documents, medications, and all that. Packing extra clothes if you're able to, trying to get your hands on gas and just securing gas. Typically, a lot of houses down here will have hurricane shutters, so you'll put those up. If not, you usually go to wood, or you'll have other sources of window protection. And then just more or less documenting everything. So like for renters or homeowners insurance, in the event that the storm does destroy stuff at your house, you just want to sit there and get pictures or video of everything. That way you'll be able to document that later on in time.
Yeah, it's an extraordinary way to live. You talked about being in North Carolina, experiencing that. Do you think about living in places that are so susceptible to these kind of ferocious storms?
It's the risk that comes with it. Usually it's not too bad because, I mean, as far off the ocean as we live, even that 10 miles, that's a huge difference. We haven't experienced something like that over where it's made it that far in on us over here. Usually it's just out by the beach area and it doesn't usually come that far in, but it came all the way in this time.
And, you know, what is your sense of what sort of support the state is going to need to get through this? Because it looks like the devastation that it's left behind is just enormous.
It's gonna, I don't even know at this point. I would assume they're going to be out trying to just sit there to begin with. They're going to be sourcing the damage and everything. And then they'll be more than likely getting the resources out to us. I would say that they're pretty good at disaster response with this stuff.
Yeah.
Us being a state that gets hurricanes a lot, I'd say that they're pretty on top of. disaster response.
Tyler, it's interesting because, you know, you work for a food chain that's called Waffle House that people may be familiar with, and your restaurant has become a barometer for the scale of the storm. Tell us about this Waffle House index.
I can, in a sense, say that I work for Waffle House, but I can't fully speak for them. That's just how the policies go. But I can give like a workaround. The person that you would be able to reach out to, our CEO, Walt Amer, would probably be the person to reach out to more. You have more knowledge on it.
But is it correct that the Waffle House, when Waffle Houses close down, it means it's a pretty bad storm, and most of the Waffle Houses have actually shut down?
Yeah. It's like they use that for the South. Pretty much, it's always been a running joke, at least for us, is if you see a Waffle House close, then it's time to run. So, because we're a 24-hour restaurant typically, so unless the circumstances are really bad, you never close.
Yeah, and often I understand that you provide food for the people that are, you know, the emergency services workers. Tyler, when do you think you might be able to venture out? In a couple of days, or are you going to go out later today, do you think?
I'll probably take out my SUV a bit later to hop on the road and see what's going on, but work-wise, we haven't been able to go back to the restaurant yet. I'm pretty much sitting by my phone waiting to be called to go back in, because usually they, at least for our restaurant, they try to be the first ones back to be able to take care of the community as quickly as possible when it's safe to do so.
Which is a wonderful thing to be able to do. Well, good luck. We appreciate you sparing some time for us, and stay safe.
You too.